Okay, so let's unpack this. Have you ever felt that tension between who, the world expects you to be and who you really are deep down? Or maybe finding a connection, like a really strong one, in a totally unexpected place with someone who just challenges everything you thought you believed. Today we're diving deep into Pamela Britton's historical romance, Tempted. And for this deep dive, our sources are, well, pretty rich. We've got captivating excerpts from the novel itself, publication details, some really glowing praise for another book she wrote, and these fascinating author's notes. It's like a whole world in there. Dukes, smugglers, unexpected passions, all of it.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how this deep dive is going to reveal this really intricate dance, between reputation, personal integrity, and just the sheer force of human connection. It can be pretty inconvenient sometimes, right? We'll be exploring how these characters have to navigate these super rigid societal expectations, how they challenge their own assumptions, deeply held ones, and ultimately how they find genuine understanding, all against this backdrop of, wit and romance.
Think of it like a shortcut to understanding a really rich, detailed story that's, well, it's as much about self-discovery and finding the courage to be authentic as it is about falling in love. So our story just plunges us right in, headfirst into the world of the Wainwright family, and specifically this notorious wicked Wainwright line. I mean, imagine generations of pure scandal. The second Duke, for instance, the book mentions, he famously ran off with, what was it, 3 heiresses, 2 married ladies, and a woman rumored to have been on her way to becoming a nun, but changed her mind.
Can you imagine living under the shadow of that kind of family history? People weren't just whispering scandalous, they were probably shouting, outrageous.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, how it is such a long-standing and, frankly, licentious legend. How does that really affect the people who inherit the name? And we see this tension immediately with our male lead. He's actively trying to, run away from that very legacy.
Right. And that would be George Alexander Essex Drummond, the Marquis of Warwick. He's a revenue commander and apparently incredibly skilled at catching smugglers. The book describes him as someone who runs his ship and his life like a clockmaker ran his timepieces. Everything in its place, every gear working in perfect order.
Exactly.
But the deep irony, the real kicker, is that his family's licentious reputation preceded him. Always. It just followed him around. That's precisely the core of his character, isn't it? His meticulousness, his dedication to the crown. It's not just a personality thing. It feels like a profound, almost desperate effort to outrun that wicked Wainwright label.
Yeah.
He's essentially trying to engineer a completely new reputation for himself.
Building it from the ground up.
Right. And this drive, this need for order and control, it takes him to Hollowbrook, which is this coastal town just notorious for, dodging import taxes. And it's here that his carefully constructed world really, really faces its biggest test.
So what happens when the Marquis, this, formidable figure, arrives in Hollowbrook? The text actually says it's like King David entered Jerusalem, kind of a grand entrance. But instead of awe, the townspeople, whose livelihoods are now, directly threatened by his success.
They're not happy.
Not at all. They start calling him Wicked Warwick, kind of leaning into his illustrious heritage. So naturally, they start plotting revenge. And a local smuggler, Tobias Brown, he spots an advertisement. It's in the London Gazette. Head nurse needed. Must have experience with difficult children. Good character, etc., etc. Marquis of Warwick gives the address.
The opportunity.
Exactly. He sees this as the perfect chance to, quote, infiltrate the enemy lair. And this is where Mary Callahan enters the picture.
And Mary is, she's anything but what you'd expect, especially for that time. Her first thought when she sees Alex, it's wonderfully dismissive, something like, no red cape, no pitchfork, no horns.
Yeah.
She's almost disappointed he doesn't look more overtly wicked, and she immediately notices his study, all that flawless, polished perfection, the papers stacked at perfect right angles.
Super organized.
Totally, and she just feels this urge to, mess it all up.
That sets up such a fantastic contrast right away, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Mary's introduced as a poor smuggler's daughter.
Yeah.
And she has this background in the royal circus, of all things. And she's just fearfully, almost aggressively independent.
Yeah.
Like when Alex asks about her references.
Oh, yeah, what does she say?
She just snorts, basically, and says, I make a point not to read what others say about me. She really stands on her own 2 feet.
You get that sense immediately.
And then there's Alex's daughter, Gabby. She definitely lives up to her description as a little termagant. In their very first meeting, Gabby drops this mocking curtsy, and then sticks out her tongue.
Charming.
Right. But Mary doesn't even blink. She just stuck her tongue out, too.
Huh. That's brilliant.
It's this instant clash of wills, but, like, in the most unexpected way.
That is such a pivotal moment, and it perfectly shows Mary's, let's say, unique approach to handling kids others might call difficult.
Yeah.
It comes from her own experience, right? Raising her 4 younger brothers, she knows how to handle chaos. And Alex, despite his initial shock, you can tell he recognizes it as the book says a remarkable technique.
Yeah.
He's clearly captivated by her vivaciousness. He sees that she glowed. Her unconventional spirit is already starting to, chip away at his super-ordered world.
And Mary, she doesn't shy away from uncomfortable stuff. She doesn't even really want the job, right?
Not at first, no.
So she presses Alex with these incredibly bold questions. Things like, are you a kind master? And even, do you chase the maids?
Wow. Straight to the point.
Absolutely fearless.
Yeah.
Just challenging his authority, his reputation, everything.
And that's where the real conflict ignites for Alex, isn't it? Because the book says damnably attracted to her. But this attraction is a direct challenge to his internal code, his whole gentlemanly ideal. He's constantly battling this ingrained belief that he would never be so common as to seduce a member of his staff.
Right, the propriety.
Exactly. His desire for her is just undeniable, but his commitment to his reputation, his carefully built identity, that's even stronger, or at least it is initially.
So Mary gets the job, despite herself, and she's given this luxurious room, a huge contrast to her background. But then, on the mantelpiece, she finds this note. It's chilling, anonymous.
Oh, the warning note.
Yeah. Dear new nurse, leave. Leave now. Do not be tempted by the money. You will end up in Bedlam, the asylum, if you stay and nurse the child. Leave, 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 leave the old nurse. Gives you chills.
It immediately signals there's some hidden danger here, doesn't it? And it foreshadows that Gabby's issues might be, more complex than just being difficult. And then right after that, we get another unique element of Mary's life.
Abu.
Her pet monkey, Abu, who just appears at her window. And Mary actually talks to him, confides in him. She calls Alex a pompous windbag.
Which is just perfect. And of course, who walks in right at that moment?
Alex.
Alex. He catches her mid-conversation with a monkey, asks her, who in heaven's name are you talking to?
It's a classic comedic beat, right? But it just adds to her completely unconventional charm.
Totally. Then later, there's this chaotic encounter involving Abu again.
Always Abu.
Always Abu. And it leads to Alex and Mary falling. They land, quote, like 2 spoons that fit perfectly. It's accidental, this intimacy, but Mary notices his large masculine fingers and feels this warmth the shell of a stove left behind. You feel that spark.
Yeah, that physical closeness, even though it's totally accidental, it dramatically ramps up their awareness of each other, doesn't it? It creates this palpable tension that Alex is just desperate to keep under control.
He's fighting it.
He's fighting this intense internal battle, constantly reminding himself of his position, his commitment to propriety, even as Mary's very presence is just completely destabilizing him.
And their dynamic, it takes another really sharp turn later. Alex barges into Mary's room.
Oh, this incident.
Yeah, he mistakenly thinks it's empty, only to find her naked as a babe.
Oops.
Big whoops. His reaction is pure shock and embarrassment. He apparently swallowed, but it went down wrong and just slammed the door so quickly, trying to stop the housekeeper, Mrs. Grimes, from seeing Mary and spreading rumors.
Protecting the reputation even then.
Exactly. But Mary, when she finds out, she confronts him head on, delivers this fiery accusation calling him a bleedin' peepin' Tom. And her declaration, you had no right to feast your peepers on me birthday suit. It's not just outrage. It's this powerful assertion of her dignity, her morality.
What's so powerful there is Mary's fierce assertion of her own agency, her refusal to be objectified. She feels fiercely alive after that confrontation. And it pushes her to think about resigning, actually.
Right.
Which forces Alex to genuinely confront his behavior and apologize. And he does, sincerely. It's a really significant moment of self-reflection for him, realizing he's wronged her, not just broken some societal rule.
Then things shift again. There's a kidnapping threat against Gabby.
Right, the plot thickens.
So Alex has to take both Mary and his daughter with him on a journey for safety. And Mary, ever the provocateur, she just can't resist pushing his buttons. Asks if they'll share a room.
Of course she does.
And even boldly points out the bulge beneath your breeches from that earlier falling incident.
Wow. Even with a kidnapping threat hanging over them. Her comments just highlight that undeniable attraction still simmering there, even in serious circumstances. And it's during this journey that Mary's true background starts to, surface more.
Little clues.
Yeah. We find out she carries Abu in a satchel, which is quirky enough, but then she shows this remarkable knowledge and skill with horses. She strokes a lead horse with this knowing touch.
Ah, the circus background.
Exactly. It's a subtle but clean insight into her past as a trick rider for the Royal Circus, and it definitely foreshadows her unique talents coming into play later.
So their journey takes them to the Wainridge estate, this sprawling place, 255 rooms.
Yeah.
Massive.
It's huge.
And there they meet Alex's father, the Duke, who is eccentric, to put it mildly.
That's one word for it?
He immediately pegs Mary as a saucy one and even gives her a swat on the rear.
Oh, wow. Just like that.
Just like that. It's this jarring reminder of the Wainridge men's whole licentious reputation, isn't it? The apple doesn't fall far. Or maybe Alex is trying to roll uphill.
He really is. It absolutely highlights that deep-seated, scandalous nature that Alex has tried so incredibly hard to escape his whole life. But the journey takes this surprising, almost ironic twist when Alex himself gets mistakenly arrested for fraud and theft.
Right. He gets thrown into a prison cart.
And here we see his vulnerability. He's suffering from hives anxiety. The book calls him a lily-livered, itching coward when it comes to confinement. It totally breaks down his usual control image.
But Mary, she steps up in a way you just wouldn't expect. She comforts him. She shares her own really difficult childhood story, raising her brothers, feeding six mouths, her determination to make her way in London.
He's clearly struck by that, her resilience, her inner strength.
Correct.
And this intimate exchange, it's pivotal, I think. It finally allows Alex to see beyond her outward sauciness, beyond the labels, to her profound inner strength and resilience. And then she shares that heartbreaking story about her horse, Admiral, the one her father killed. It's this raw, vulnerable moment that deeply connects them. Alex is so moved, he actually reaches out, clasps her hand. He feels helpless with a longing just to comfort her.
A real turning point.
Absolutely. He's seeing her not as staff, not as a category, but as this woman of incredible substance.
And then Mary's practical skills save the day. She just easily picks the lock on their prison cart.
Just like that.
Pretty much. Declares she was going to wait until we got nearer to London, but since you have a cousin nearby, and gives him this cocky little smile, totally proud of herself.
That's fantastic. Her resourcefulness, it leads them to Alex's cousin, Rainley Montgomery, the Earl of Sherborne.
Rain.
And this is where Mary really gets to shine. She demonstrates her trick-riding expertise on Rain's horse, Onyx, and both men are just left in.
Well, the book says, shock followed close on its heels by admiration.
Even Alex has to admit it.
Yeah, even Alex admits she had a perfect seat rare amongst men, much less women. It's this amazing moment where her unconventional past becomes this undeniable strength. It's not something to hide anymore. So, Rain, he's described as a notorious rake, right? A gentleman known for his libertine lifestyle.
Definitely not following Alex's rigid code.
Not at all. And he proposes this audacious plan, basically to rattle Alex about by having Mary pose as a new cousin at a ball. A bit of mischief.
Oh, the deception plot.
Exactly. And Mary, despite her misgivings, she actually agrees. She longs to know what it's like to sleep in one of those fancy rooms, to wear beautiful clothes, to be waited upon and served like the finest of ladies.
You really feel that deep, almost childlike longing in her, don't you? To just experience a different kind of life. It highlights that stark contrast between her reality, her humble background, and the glittering world of the nobility.
Yeah.
So she wears the silk gown, the color of her eyes, feels like the grandest of ladies, even though she knows deep down she tells herself she's a fraud. It's poignant. It underscores her desire for acceptance, maybe even a different identity.
But at the ball, disaster strikes. Or maybe comedy strikes. Mary's curtsy goes hilariously wrong.
Yeah.
She ends up in this comical collision with Rain.
Yeah.
And the guests, and Rain himself, they immediately figure out she's not who she seems. They jump to the conclusion that she must be Alex's mistress.
Of course they do. Easy assumption for them.
Rain even says to Alex, welcome to the ranks of rakes. You've outdone me, old boy, rubbing it in.
So this is where society's judgment becomes this really harsh reality for Mary. And Alex faces the exact public scandal he spent his entire life trying to avoid.
It's his worst nightmare, basically.
Pretty much. However, instead of retreating or blaming her, he chooses to protect her. He apologizes for his earlier proposition, asks for her forgiveness. And this moment profoundly impacts Mary. She realizes she has never met a man who could admit he was wrong.
That's huge for her.
It's a huge crack in Alex's rigid exterior. It shows genuine character underneath all that propriety.
So Alex, clearly moved by Mary's character, by everything they've been through, and his own changing feelings, he proposes marriage.
Wow. Okay. Big step.
Huge step. But Mary, she's shaken by society's judgment, by everything, and she's haunted by her past. She reveals this profound trauma.
This is tough.
Yeah. At 16, alone in London, she was almost assaulted. And then, adding insult to injury, she was accused of solicitation by a watchman. She also reveals her mother, Christina Calloway, left her when she was just 5 years old to become the Duke of Clarence's mistress.
Oh, wow. That explains so much.
Right. Mary vows fiercely never to end up on me back like she did. She bravely admits she fell in love with Alex, but feels she has to leave because of his reaction to her deception, her fear of being judged for her past.
And that revelation, it really underscores Mary's core values, doesn't it? Her mind and her morality are her most valuable possessions. They're all she feels she truly owns. She understands Alex's initial shock at her deception, recognizing that he walked the path of the straight and narrow, never having had to understand that some people didn't have that choice.
That's insightful.
Her fears are rooted in a very real societal danger for women of her background at that time. It wasn't just paranoia.
Then Rain steps in again, in this surprising, really dramatic turn.
What does he do?
He confronts Alex and reveals that Gabby is not Alex's daughter.
Wait, what?
Nope. She is, in fact, his father's byblow, a bastard child, entrusted to Alex because his father, the Duke, cared too much to raise her himself. Can you believe that?
Oh my goodness. That changes everything.
Completely. And Rain, he's disgusted by Alex's obsession with reputation over genuine connection. He urges him, live for the now, Alex. Carpe diem. Stop clinging to this empty pride. He calls Alex a fool who has forgotten what it's like to truly live.
That revelation just shatters Alex's carefully constructed world, doesn't it?
Into pieces.
It forces him to reevaluate his entire life, all the sacrifices he's made for a reputation that was essentially built on a lie, or at least a massive omission, and what family truly means. It just perfectly highlights that central conflict, personal happiness versus societal standing, and the sheer illusion of that carefully curated image he's tried so hard to maintain.
So Mary, thinking Alex has rejected her because of her past, because of the deception, she plans to leave.
Understandable.
But Alex, now understanding his own feelings, the futility of his pride, the truth about Gabby, about his life, he finds her at another ducal party, no less.
Grand gesture time.
Absolutely. He publicly declares his love.
Huh?
Right there. Says, I love you, Mary Brown Callahan. And I knew you to be a good person, an amazing person, really. Doesn't hold back.
Wow, in front of everyone. And then he proposes marriage again, not for her to be his mistress this time, but as his marchioness. He kneels before her, asks her to be his friend.
That's incredibly romantic.
And the presence of the Prince of Wales, who surprisingly accepts Mary as Alex's fiancée, that just dramatically shifts the entire room's vibe from shock and outrage to smiling.
Your pressure from the top.
Exactly. It's this incredibly powerful moment of public acceptance. It validates Mary in a way she probably never ever imagined possible.
And Mary accepts.
Phew.
Later, in this beautiful testament to how much they've both grown, she even changes her mind about having children. She tells Alex, perhaps, just perhaps you might be able to change my mind about producing an heir.
That's huge for her, given her past fears.
It is. And her reasons are so profound. Being reunited with her mother, understanding her own father's apology about her horse, Admiral. But most of all, being with Alex, who accepts his faults, oftentimes apologizing for them, and who fought his desire for her, never pressing himself upon her. That respect meant everything.
It really did. Now, the author's note adds some really fascinating context here, too.
Right, Pamela Britton herself.
Yeah. She describes Tempted clearly as a historical romance, and her editor's diary entry calls it one of those wonderfully romantic, sexy, witty historical romances that readers dream of discovering. It describes Alex perfectly. Colorful reputation as a rake who vowed to give up his wicked ways, and Mary, spirited and intelligent with luscious lips and mysterious bedroom eyes, look more like trouble than salvation. Sums them up well.
And Pamela Britton, she even jokes about her zany sense of humor and wacky story ideas, blaming it on the amount of fruity pebbles she consumes.
Love that.
Apparently, she's had all sorts of careers before writing, modeling, working for NASCAR teams. It gives you a fun little peek into the mind behind the story. And we also learn her previous novel, Seduced, got a lot of praise. Romantic Times called it very sensual, great fun. And Publishers Weekly noted, Britton's plucky characters keep the story fresh. So she has form.
Definitely. And we also get insight into the historical inspiration, the real mistress of the Duke of Clarence, Dora Jordan.
Oh, right.
An actress who bore him 10 children. But despite that royal connection, she died alone and penniless in France, basically discarded.
Wow.
This historical detail just powerfully underscores the very real dangers Mary feared. Her resolve never to end up on me back like she did. It wasn't just a character trait, it had this stark historical grounding.
Yeah, makes her fears even more potent.
Exactly.
And there's that mention that Charles Hughes opened a rival establishment, which he called the Royal Circus, which is the first use of the word in that context.
Which links directly back to Mary's extraordinary background as a trick writer, right? England's only female performer in that arena. It explains her unique skills and her independence.
So, tying it all together.
Ultimately, I think Tempted shows us that the truest reputation isn't built on what society thinks or what name you inherit. It's built on genuine character and the courage to live authentically. Alex and Mary's journey isn't just about finding love. It's about dismantling the facades, the masks they've each built to protect themselves. It shows us that real connection often begins where all that pretense ends. The world often sees what it wants to see, as Mary wisely observes somewhere in there.
Yes, she does.
But true connection demands, deeper understanding and the courage to challenge those surface perceptions.
So what does this all mean for you listening? This deep dive into Tempted, it shows us this world where these really rigid societal expectations and your personal history, they just collide with unexpected love. It's a powerful reminder, I think, that courage isn't just about, facing physical danger. It's about being authentically yourself. Even when that means challenging deeply held beliefs about status, about propriety, maybe even about your own sense of self-worth.
Yeah, it really encourages us to question assumptions, doesn't it? Just like Alex was forced to question his own when he found out the truth about Gabby. And he had to truly see Mary for who she was, not just the label society slapped on her. And maybe to appreciate that often the most valuable connections we make aren't forged in like shared social standing or matching backgrounds,
Right.
but in shared vulnerability, empathy, and just that willingness to see beyond reputation, to see the real person.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. A final thought for you. If Mary and Alex, despite these huge differences in background and reputation, if they could find true love and acceptance by courageously challenging the rigid rules of their society, what scandalous truth or unexpected connections might you be overlooking in your own life? What assumptions that you may be holding on to that, if you challenge them, could lead to your own surprising happily ever after? Something to think about.